And maybe in
only one page. One page this one.
maybe in way and the other. We'll see in a second here. I'm going to be sending you some scans photos soon.
Cool. Oh, these are some little nursing photos?
Yeah, but these were with the negatives, the original. See how they, 1941, how they deteriorated from the acid. From the,
Right?
No, that's John Roof's restaurant
Where?
on Main Street, right across from where I live.
Oh, so this is what's now DeNapoli's? Or what was DeNapoli's?
Yeah.
Okay. No kidding.
That's a bar in Massena, a deluxe restaurant bar.
Malt beer. Where was this?
Over in the Grove, Willow.
Okay. What's there? Do you know what's there now?
I don't think I was there. I got to do a little research. All I got to do is look up the address and I'll know.
Four Roses malt beer.
You can actually read that.
Yeah, if I hold it close.
So I put 3 hours of scanning in today. Oh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. This is the regular meeting of the Massena Town Council for August 19th. We typically have a 15-minute public comment period at the beginning and end of each meeting. We ask that if you want to comment, you can address the board about anything in that 15 minutes. If you want to address the board, we ask that you stand and state your name and address for the record. Keep your comments to 3 minutes, and we ask that you only comment once in the 15-minute period. So, anybody have anything you want to address the board about? If not, we'll get right into the agenda. No comments? Okay, great, thank you. First up is a resolution to accept minutes as prepared by the town clerk for June 3rd, June 17, July 15, and August 12, 2015.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstention, motion carries. Also have a resolution to accept or reject the bid for a surplus 2005 Chevrolet extended cab pickup. If this says that there was a minimum bid, that we had removed the minimum bid. Our original, 2 months ago, we asked for a $1,000 minimum bid. We removed that and said that we would accept any bid, and we only received one bid. And the bid that we received is for $300 from Gary Stiles. So if the board is satisfied with that, we'll either reject it or approve it. So anyone make a motion to that effect?
This is the third time we've bid it, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to accept the $300 bid on the 2005 Chevy pickup. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstention, motion carries. Next up, a resolution approving and authorizing the consolidation of the Village of Massena vital records, past, present, and future, with the Town of Massena vital records, and turning over the village vital record duties to the Massena Town Clerk. The Town of Massena would assume all records and be responsible for the maintenance, storage, and filing of said records. The Town of Massena requests that the St. Lawrence County Board of Legislators approve this resolution and forward it to the New York State Department of Health for their approval in accordance with Article 41 of the Public Health Law. The village, I believe, acted on this last night. They passed a similar resolution, and what this does is it consolidates all of the vital records, so the village clerk doesn't have to keep a separate file for the village. The town clerk will keep a file for both the village and the town, consolidated, just a little more efficient.
Yeah, she basically does it all
right now. She's doing it anyway, pretty much. So this just formalizes what's already happening. So do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstention, motion carries. Next up is a resolution to approve the proposal from Hydestone Mechanicals to replace the burner assembly and pump replacement on the humidifiers at Town Hall at a cost of $3,885. Motion to that effect?
So moved.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Second all over the place. Discussion on this, everybody knows what we're talking about, pretty cut and dried. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions, motion carries. Next up is a discussion on the Senior Citizens Organization. There had been a request from the senior citizens to address the board on a couple matters. I don't want to get too far in the weeds as far as budget, because we're going to be talking about budget in another month or so when that process starts. But we're certainly open to listening to just about anything. So.
Okay. I'm Sylvia Despar, I'm the president of the Senior Citizens. It's nothing, you can all hear me. Dear Mr. Gray and Massena Town Board of Directors, thank you for including our Massena Senior Citizens Board of Directors in your board meeting with you to discuss some concerns we have still with the letter recently sent to us from Supervisor Joe Gray. Enclosed are letters of concerns from two of our board members addressing some of the Massena Senior Citizens questions and concerns we have after the letter you wrote to us was presented to them. Questions that we need answers to. If the position of executive director is not in next year's budget, currently the amount for the budget for the position is $6,500. Where does the other $4,200 go for? Would that cover the items needed to run the office? What items are included? We have never had a list made available to our Massena Senior Board. We no longer have a Massena Senior Citizens contract with the Executive Director effective January 1st, 2015, which included all duties that she was supposed to do for us. Volunteers are now doing these duties so that our Massena Senior Citizens would still be served in their best interest. Would a part-time clerk in the office be an option paid for by your town board and duties overseen by our Massena Board of Directors, who are the governing body of the Massena Senior Citizens, with full cooperation and respect for each other? I want to ask you a question. Why has none of the Massena board members checked out the new procedures and visited the senior rooms at the community center? Or talked to any one of the 17 Massena Senior Board of Directors members? Please come in and check out how the seniors are enjoying the use of your building. We do take our duties very seriously, and we need to have a clear idea for our future for next year. The majority of the cleanup at the community center is done by the senior members, and we schedule the activities for our senior wing. Our room is filled each day with different Massena senior-sponsored activity. Every activity is brought to the board for their approval before they're placed on the schedule. In the past, we have had many conflicts due to poor scheduling. We worked hard to correct this. We have installed logbooks that we use to keep track of all our events, as it is a much better procedure for all to use. Would there be an option to have someone come in and mop floors in senior wing, or could be this an option for us to pursue? As you know, most of our seniors, the average age is 75 to 95. A big question. Would there be a problem in putting in a computer for our use and getting onto the internet? We are now using a computer loaned to us and have put it in all. Over 500 members are on a mailing list, which makes a much easier day-to-day update. But we do not have the internet, so that we could be in touch with other organizations in this day and age. Internet is a must to keep up and keep moving forward. Some of the other things, if any of you board have any questions, you all received a packet. We're glad to answer them for you. Thank you very much. Yes.
One question I had, in your letter, you talk about that you guys have done most of the cleanup.
Yes. In the senior room.
Yeah, the question I have is, and I guess, I don't know whether you can answer it or not, we pay the village to do that every year in our budget.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about weekly, where, like mopping the floors, where our seniors, most of them are not able to do it.
No, I understand,
And it would just be for that, and maybe some,
does the but the question I'm asking is, does any village employees show up to clean the
our
community
senior
center?
wing, no,
Well, the entire community center.
they do the community center, but they don't do our wing.
Well, you are part of the
You're
community
part of
center.
the.
We're part of the thing, but they don't do in the senior wing, all the ones are on this side. They help do the hallway, and the rest of it, we do ourselves.
Who does the big room?
The big room is the village.
The village does that?
They keep that, but we also do it most of the time where there's an activity in there, and when we have an activity, we clean it up, make sure that everything's clean.
So down where your offices are and stuff,
And there
they
you go.
don't clean.
We haven't did it ourselves. We have some members that will go and mop the floor once in a while, but like I say, we have a lot of different groups in there, and it gets pretty sticky by the end of the week.
Well, I guess it's one thing we'll need that. We
We'll
should
have
find
to
out,
ask
because,
why they don't clean that.
Why
they don't.
Because they're that's part of the center.
right.
Well-
Here's the other question, are they cleaning the neighborhood center?
Oh, they should be doing the whole building. You know, that was the agreement from day one, when we built that building. The town agreed to pay the mortgage.
Mhm.
This town board pays the mortgage, and the village is responsible for what goes on inside that building, not this board, actually.
Well, see, the last time it was,
And we split that cost with them.
well,
So all we do is provide them money
they
to
don't come,
maintain
they
that
don't
building. Well,
sweep, they don't do nothing.
okay, so we need to find out, and you need to be asking them,
Right.
because this board's not
Well,
responsible
we
to clean that
didn't
building.
know who to go to, but we
Well, it's
need
been
to-
the agreement since day
Yes.
one, when that building was built.
So I don't know, like I said, we do not know the options that we have from the town board. We do not know what that 4,200 that you have allotted us for this year, what that covers. We know it's newsletters, office supplies.
I don't think we put any restrictions on
Right.
it, Sylvia, as far as I
We
know.
have
We-
never
we-
been, we've never given any
No, we
list
paid,
of what
we
we
paid the
want.
director, and
And
she,
there was
she'll be,
4,200 on your budget for contracted amounts. And I believe that was for, like, we send over some of the newsletters, goes over to your office for reimbursement when we pay them. Also,
right.
in office supplies,
Postage.
that's what I know,
Okay.
that goes over there. But we'd like an updated list of what actually we can, come up with, so that we can do our own if we have to.
okay.
Sylvia,
Yes.
can I speak as treasurer? Anything we've submitted has pretty much been paid for by the town. There's
Right.
never, as far as I know, I've been treasurer for 3 years, and there's never been a list. I don't feel that I really need that list, because I know that you're paying the postage for the newsletters. I know office supplies go directly to the town to be billed. And we have gotten things like pots and pans that we need a little extra in the kitchen, and you've been paying that up to our budgeted amount. So really, I think we're
I'm
okay.
not saying how much they spend, all I want to know is what, we can bill it, reimburse back to
We've
the
not
town.
put any
No.
restrictions on it.
There's no restrictions.
There's
Right.
not that.
Okay. That's all we
I've
wanted
been
to
on
know.
17 years, and we get a budget request, Joe gets a budget request from somebody
Right.
every year for a certain dollar amount, and we either approve that request, or we alter that request, and then you guys can spend that money any way you want.
Okay,
You can put in the internet,
And what?
an internet, we can put in the internet.
I don't think there's any reason why you can't. But in my opinion, we're not gonna buy you a computer,
no, but.
and we're not gonna hook up your internet, but if you wanna use the money we pay you to pay for the internet service, I don't really see where that's a problem.
We pretty much use up all the money, and actually, we had actually spent on necessities, such as newsletters and things for the kitchen. We actually spent more than what we were allotted the last 2 years, because
Sure.
what you're giving us really isn't enough for what we need to do. Okay, the rest comes from our fundraising.
Right, and I don't think it's the town's responsibility to cover all those expenses.
Right.
quite honestly. We've been covering it, and there has been a lot of, at least from my impression, a lot of turmoil in the past year. I don't fully understand that. I don't know what's changed, the same woman who's been doing the executive director's job for 20 years almost, I guess, is doing. And I don't wanna get into that here, it's not appropriate. But she is aware, you're aware that I don't plan on funding that position again next year.
Right, and that's,
And I made it clear to her, so she has time to make arrangements. You guys have time to make arrangements for that as well. And we every year have a bit of a struggle at budget time, how much taxpayer money should we give to private organizations? Whether it be the Chamber of Commerce, whether it be Meals on Wheels, whether it be senior citizens, you're a private corporation. And we believe you provide some public service, and we've been trying to help out with that to the extent possible. As our budget gets tighter and tighter, you're gonna start seeing those monies shrink, I believe. So and I'm only one vote on this board, but I propose a budget, the board then looks at that budget, they decide what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. Sometimes they change it up, sometimes they change it down. So, that's where we're at right now.
Well,
We're all set for this year, as we know,
like we asked, yeah, we're good up to.
December 31st.
If you are not going to pay her $6,500, then is it possible to have a part-time clerk in there that you would fund and be an employee of yours or appointee of yours?
In my opinion, no, we're not gonna put a town employee in there, maybe kind of, when we met, and we've met several times
Oh,
in the past 6 months.
yes, I agree.
You told me you didn't really need that position funded. So when I said I was defunding, you said that's no big deal, we've been able to pick up the slack internally.
Like you say, I don't wanna say too much against anybody else.
No,
But the
we don't
position
need to.
was not being done. It was not, her duties were not being fulfilled. We had a contract with her also,
I understand that.
and we reviewed it after, which was according to our bylaws. And after review, all of our members of the board agreed that we were no longer gonna pay her to do the duties that she was not doing.
See, and the other thing, we don't, the other agencies that we fund, and I'm thinking the Chamber of Commerce gets a specific amount, and the purpose of that is to help promote Massena and attract visitors and bring some more business, whether it be people coming here or new businesses relocating here. Meals on Wheels, pretty self-explanatory. We fund that to an extent because we believe there's a community service there, and trying to keep that affordable. They have not been getting as much, we gave them a little more this year than we did the year before, I think, but we've cut them in the past. They've had to increase their fundraising, and I see, and that's not unique to Massena, other towns are doing the same thing, so,
We do our fundraising too,
I
but
understand.
you have more seniors coming into that center every day than you ever had in all the time you've been there.
That could be,
Everything is, if I can
you
get it
have more
scheduled.
dues paying members as a result, right?
And we got brand new members, we have dancers there, we support cherry yoga, we have card players, they have shuffleboard,
Sure,
we have
that's
regular
great.
yoga,
That's
all
perfect.
sponsored by the board of directors, already going, the Massena Senior sponsor. If you didn't have them all coming in there, you're not gonna have too many coming out into the other rooms. I mean, the seniors participate,
Sure.
and we give them a place to come and socialize. Some of them will stay there till 6 o'clock at night, just maybe 4 or 5 of them sitting there using the room. And but that's what I say, we have a lot of people coming in now, and we just need a little bit of cleaning.
Well, we're gonna check on the cleaning, I think that's a good question.
And they should ask.
We've got,
They
we'll
should
find
ask the
out,
village
Nancy,
too.
correct me if I'm wrong, for the mortgage, it's about 80 grand a year, isn't it?
85,000.
85,000
Plus we
a
pay them
year.
another
And the
25,000.
agreement with the village
for
was,
maintenance.
and we're sharing that with them,
Well,
that the building would be cleaned, maintained, okay, and all the nuts and bolts things that you do, okay, they're responsible for that.
well, I've been president over there 4 years, and I don't believe I've ever seen anybody come and clean too much over there in that time. Maybe once in a while they come, they do not mop our floors, and that's in the boardroom and the big room. Not the big room.
And we'll have
In
to
the-
see if they're doing those things in other parts of the building, and if they are, they should be doing
But,
them.
but the kitchen is with it's supposed to be with whoever does the activities in it. But we clean it every day, we make sure it's clean, just like the recycling. We put in that at our own expense, we put in a recycling, bin, that it says right on it, Massena Seniors. Because we couldn't get anything from the village to do it. He said he couldn't, They did not put it in, so we went and we got it, and we got the instructions, and it's being done now.
Good.
So,
And you keep the place beautiful, it's always in
well,
great shape.
this is
And
one
I-
reason
and I
why the
like to think
seniors
I'm gonna
like to go.
I wanna pat the town board in the back and say we've got a pretty nice facility we provided for you too.
Right.
I mean, when
Well,
I
we
look
do,
at some of
and
the
we
other senior
acknowledge
citizen
that,
centers.
you got one of the best facilities around, and we'd like to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
And every senior that comes in there and uses it goes back out
Yeah.
and tells
And-
everybody.
And one of the other points I was trying to make a little earlier is typically the money we provide to private organizations isn't used for staffing.
No,
It's for specific purposes. So when you say to me, will you fund someone to clean or someone to run the office, I'd like to get away from that, and that's why I've told the current director that I don't plan on funding that in my proposed budget again for next year.
I
So,
already understood that.
we don't fund the staff at the Chamber of Commerce. We have funded some of the summer employees before at the visitor center. But, we don't fund the staff at Meals on Wheels. We provide them some money for
Well,
operational
they're all
money,
volunteers
So,
over there, and volunteers
absolutely,
right now
right.
are manning the hours.
and that's great.
Because we
so-
enjoy the seniors and they enjoy being there.
Sure.
And there's not another place in town where they can come over and sit in the afternoon and play a game of cards. We have 3 different bridge clubs over there. Maybe a lot of your folks are in there too.
So we don't care what you spend the money on, just don't spend it on whiskey. That's what I-
Well, we haven't got that yet because you gotta know.
You don't
alcohol
drink.
costs.
That's right.
Joe,
Yeah,
and
very
the rest of the
sorry.
board, Joe, we have our cooks that we pay, and that's more like a contractual service type thing.
Uh-huh.
Now, what I'm gonna suggest to you, and you can think about this when it comes to the budget meeting, is that you're giving us 4,200, which you cut us back 500 last year, plus we're now paying our phone bills, which is about $360, so we're cut back about $850 in our expendable cash.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm gonna say to you is if you're not paying $6,500 to the director's position, is it possible for you to raise our 4,200 to about, say, 6,000? And let us contract that we can hire somebody and we just do the 1099 Rs at the end of the year if we need somebody to hire somebody in the office for every now and then? Is that a possibility to raise ours so that we can use that money as we see fit?
We can
do
look
it.
at that possibility. I'm gonna see what the budget ends up looking like when we first start. I mean, Nancy's been on vacation, she's just getting back, and we're just gonna start the budget process
Okay.
in the next couple of weeks, so
That's something I'd like to consider as treasurer.
we can take a look at
You know,
that.
we use up all the money that we fundraise,
Yeah.
and we do a lot for our seniors, a lot of stuff that we do for our seniors that doesn't cost them anything, because we're working hard as volunteers and board members to make sure that our seniors are getting that. And we're servicing up to 531 seniors are now currently members this year,
Well, how much are dues? Just out of
$5 a year.
$5 a year?
Yeah.
Get a lot for your $5.
Yeah, I guess
Covers the
maybe.
newsletter.
Holy cow.
Yeah,
I mean,
seniors
I'm not gonna
are-
criticize that, but I was in an organization once, and I think our dues were $20 a year, and I said, you know, that's really not a lot, when you look at 12 months a year, not a lot per month. And you're telling me $5, and I know people have fixed incomes and money's tight, but boy, that's a hell of a bargain, in my opinion.
It is, and the
$5 a year
seniors
is-
appreciate all we do, and we try to
And
get
then
it
for
back.
$12, it would be $1 a month.
How many members total?
531.
You increase that by $10.
Yeah, that's $2,500 right there. $10 down,
Yeah,
there's 5,000 there.
yeah.
You have any
Okay.
more questions for us?
Thank you for coming.
What's
Thank
what's
you.
the terms on the mortgage? Much longer is that?
It's that 30-year bond.
I think it's- I
Yeah,
think that's
it's funded.
Almost halfway.
It's funded out of,
the contract.
no,
No, it's funded out of the,
money.
Oh, no, no,
we got
NIPA
from
money.
NIPA.
the NIPA agreement.
Yeah.
I just have one thing to say. You know, you say that, yes, we are in turmoil right now with our past director, and we need to have the whole board understand what is going on there. So somebody needs to look into it, because we came to you before you reappointed her this last time and told you we had problems, yet you still appointed her. So that $6,000 you just threw away for a year, that we got nothing for. So, you know, I'm saying the board should investigate what is going on before you make any decisions, and see what we're doing and see what's going on.
Okay. I don't disagree with you. Again, comes back to what do I, as a town supervisor, feel is the taxpayer's obligation to a private organization? And I'll take your, with in essence the budget request under consideration, we start looking at the budget. Again, it's very difficult, it's more and more difficult, in my opinion, for us to fund private organizations. And there's only, I think, 3 or 4 that we fund. You happen to be one of them. So, you know, we don't fund the Knights of Columbus, we don't fund the American Legion, we don't, you know, I guess we do provide some money for flags from the veterans' graves, but, you know, so it gets more and more difficult for us to say to taxpayers, we're gonna raise your taxes and we're gonna keep funding private organizations.
Yeah, I understand that, but yet you knew we were in turmoil, yet you still spent that money.
Well,
Where if someone from the board would have sat down and talked about it, maybe we could have saved that money for this year. Instead of cutting.
you gotta remember, just because we budget something doesn't mean it's spent.
Oh, no, I'm not
So I don't want,
saying
no,
that.
but I don't want you to think that,
No.
you know, because if she's not being employed, we're not spending that money. It's in the budget, but just because it's in the budget doesn't mean it's being spent. And I assume that we did that in the budget
No,
period last.
It's being spent because she's spending it. She's getting paid.
She's still there,
Part-
she's still there 5 days a week.
No, she's not.
The full
No,
hours?
she's not there 5 days a week. No.
Last I knew that was what we had agreed to,
Yes, we agreed that she was, her regular hours were from
10 hours a week.
10 to 2. She cut her hours from 20 hours to 10 hours and still
Right,
getting
so
the same money.
No,
She wouldn't be getting the same amount of money.
She's getting the same amount of
No,
money.
we agreed,
Plus her vacations.
I really didn't want to get into this in public, but she was being paid, we were paying her for 10 hours a week. They were paying her for additional time.
No, we were not.
No, you weren't, you
Yes.
weren't until
We were
January
not.
1, right?
We were
We're
not.
supplementing.
You didn't have a contract with her.
We were
Supplementing her. 2014, end of
That's-
2014.
That's what I'm saying.
You
May-
had the
may I
contract with
speak?
her.
Sure.
That's understandable.
This is why we took it to our bylaws, and we changed some of our bylaws, because actually she was getting 13,500 a year with what you were paying her, what we were
Right.
paying her.
Exactly.
And it just, the duties were not getting done.
Okay.
She had certain duties, that's why we always asked you for a contract, or what her duties were, because
And
we
don't have
were
a-
never
we don't have
told.
that.
We were never told actually what it was, and I know I talked to you
Yes,
before.
and I'm in my 6th year, and the first 4 years it never came up.
I know, I
So
know.
that's what's confusing me.
Well,
And I don't know what's changed, but we
Well,
can't
a lot
fix that
has-
tonight.
a lot has
Up until
changed.
this
That's
year.
what I'm
A
saying.
lot has changed over the years, and new programs and everything.
And that's good.
We're trying to keep up with flow with everything. And like I said, we're getting new members in all the time, because they see and they like what they get over at the center. Our dances, every 2
That's great.
weeks.
And you know, we're
And
real
that's our
well intended.
fundraiser.
And that's why I'll go out on a limb and say, maybe you should go $1 a month to $12 a year for dues. I don't think that's gonna break
Well, I
anybody.
don't think so, because
You know,
we're there, because you might not have some of these seniors here. We've lost 3 this week.
I know, I understand
Very
that. Hey,
old.
no, I
Yeah,
So,
don't
you
know.
Yeah, I
know,
don't want to continue too much, but
No.
Joe said it's 6 years and only came up this year. I've been
no,
17 years.
this has been
and
4
her-
years. This has been
In
4
her
years.
position, as far as I knew, for 17 years, I never heard anything negative.
She's getting.
If, and again, I don't want to get
No,
too sensitive
no.
about this, but what, you don't want us telling you how you're gonna run your stuff.
No, that's what we
You know,
asked you.
so, and there's 2 or 3 things that we've been mentioned tonight, saying how we haven't told you how we want you to do things. You don't want that.
No, we don't.
Nobody wants that.
But we
Us,
would-
this town
that's
board,
what
we
every-
don't want it. We don't want it, you don't want it. You don't want us, this town board, telling you how to do
You need to
things.
understand what you want from us. If you
That's-
have an employee
that's what I'm
that
trying
works for us, then we need to know what we have obligated to her,
And
what she
I
has
assume
obligated to us, and no one knows that.
Most of us assume, and Albert's been around even longer than that you guys took care of that.
And
That
then-
it was a
Yes,
mutual
that's-
arrangement,
Yes.
that the board of directors and that employee worked out amongst themselves. Because I can't imagine, for as long as she was in that job, that she just sat at her desk for 20 years and did nothing.
Your imagination is correct,
Its
sir.
only thing is, you could have saved half of that money because she did not do what you's even required of. That's all we're saying. You paid her $6,500 for a year. when that woman might not even make 3,500 a year. Because we were doing her jobs that she was supposed to be doing. That's all we're saying, okay? And that's why we have fought for a year and a half over this, and we've sent a couple letters in this year.
Can I say something?
Like it is, you know.
Brian Schaefer, in 2012, I was on the board of directors, and I took part within a group of the board of directors in writing a contract up for Sheila Ben that included all of her responsibilities, included...
For your organization?
Yeah, for the organization, included what could be changed by the board and what couldn't be changed by the board. That contract was reviewed at the time by both the village and the town boards, and passed through them and reviewed and okayed and returned. At that time, the contract was signed by Sylvia Despar and notarized on the board of directors that had a complete list of all the responsibilities. All I would suggest is, let's dig out, people don't even probably know that there was a list. Let's dig out that list that was approved by everybody at that time and recite today what needs to be changed and what needs to be done.
That was 4 years ago.
That's right, 2012, notarized.
Could I have more, please?
Yeah, Bob, you
Thank
can.
you. Right, this has been going on for 4 years. We had a contract with her. Our contract, this was our contract.
Yeah, separate
With
from
it,
us.
not anything to do
That's
with the
right.
town. You were separate, we did not know what her duties were, and she would never tell us what she was supposed to be in there. All I know, she was supposed to support us. She did not. And every year, when you go in and you do a new bylaws, and this is right in Robert's Rules of Order, your old bylaws is no longer in existence.
Correct.
And every year, we have did a bylaws change. If there's something that has to be done, then we do it. And according to our bylaws, we did 2 years ago, that we could do a preview. And I have all the old bylaws that went back from '99. And in it, and everyone said that she was subject to a review. So we decided to review. And this were 17 members that are on this board. And everyone signed the review, and that it was not satisfactory, and she was told
You
she
didn't
would not.
renew our contract.
Right, that we were not gonna renew it.
That's your
So
fault.
then we had to do, since January, we had to take over and do the office work, because then we did install into computer, as you see in the letter I gave each of you, there was a lone computer that's in there. It's not on the internet. There's 500 and some members, all done on a spreadsheet. We know day to day, if somebody dies, the name's taken off. They're on the mailing list, and this is all done by our volunteers there. Things were not being there, and if you would have come over and looked at how it was being run, I mean, you could just come in and check it out. You can see what we've done. We're really proud to show you what we have accomplished in 6 months.
Now and the then.
Appreciate the offer.
The then and the now.
Then and then up.
Excuse me, but Sylvia, how many checks that weren't cashed by her from back in
That's-
1990 something?
That is,
And
yes.
she had no idea who the checks were from
But
and they weren't logged.
this is in-house,
Right.
and this is why we did it. But all we are asking is for your cooperation with us to try to make it better for everybody over there, and
Certainly I'll take that under advisement as we put the budget together.
everything we have done has been notarized, and as far as I know, I don't believe I did anything wrong when doing any of the bylaws that were
No, I don't
made,
think anybody
because
said
I
that.
didn't do it alone.
Yeah, okay, great.
I have one quick question, Sheila, I asked Secretary, how many people do you employ that you don't know their duties and pay?
How many people do we employ who don't know their duty? There's not, I don't think, we don't have job description for everybody, I'll tell you that.
But you must know what you're paying them for.
Yes, and we have been paying the Director for Senior Citizens for a long time to be in the office and work with the senior citizens. And until, the first I heard that breaking down was maybe a year ago. So I didn't know, I'm still not sure where the problem came about, and we can't fix it tonight.
No.
I'm gonna cut off discussion. So the short answer is, the executive director has been doing what the executive director's been doing for 20-some years. And it wasn't brought to our attention, at least my attention, until about a year ago. You had a
Because we have
problem.
a better president now.
Well, it could be.
Past presidents that could care less. They
Well,
just let it ride.
Right, and that's something that I can't fix either, right?
We're trying to correct it now.
Yeah, and you guys are fixing it, and that's great. We
Yes.
can't,
Will
so,
please come over and look and ask them, just take a visit, come to see how many seniors are in there using it.
anytime I'm there, it's
And
busy,
I-
and I know that.
And we invite you every time to our dinners.
And I try to get there when I
There you
can.
go.
I can't be there every time, but I
We
try
can
to
even
get there.
come and have our dances, we have flies.
We don't do anything to hurt anybody.
Oh, I know that, and I don't think anybody's accusing you of that. You're doing a great, you're doing a great job. If you start buying whiskey, it may be a problem.
Okay, well, then
Okay.
we have more members.
Yeah, there you go.
Can we have sparkling grape?
Non-alcoholic, you can spend money on that. Okay, we have an addition to the agenda, and the form of resolution on the second page to accept the draft agreement for the lump sum consultant agreement with CNS for the design of the airport parking lot overlay and expansion project. Frank, how is this different than what we just did for the expansion project?
I don't know. I don't know. We already approved it all.
Well, that's what John was just asking, or Sam was just asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got to get a better handle on all our grants that are coming in. I don't know where any of them are, I don't know if any of them are signed.
So do we need to pass this tonight, or, let's, yeah, we'll table that, okay. All right, promotional video, I hope to give them a call this week, I have not done that yet. They should be, it's in post-production, it should be done soon. We have, you've seen, and it's been public to some extent, the first video that Mr. Meisner produced for promoting fishing, and it's a, I think a 1-minute short video that looks pretty darn nice, I think. It's been on YouTube and on Facebook, and we'll be using that for other purposes as well, and they're going to be they're going to be recording more videos and producing more videos. So, but this one is the bigger one, and I don't have an update on it right now. Appointments, I don't think we have any, do we? We did a couple on a special meeting last week. Transfers and amendments, in your packet you have those. I need a motion on the budget transfers and amendments.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, abstention, motion carries. Warrant 8, pay the bills. They were reviewed by Councilman Miller and Nicole, I believe. They have a motion from Councilman Nicole to pay the bills, second by Councilman Miller. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstention, motion carries. Financial reports you see in your packet for revenue expense for July 2015 and year-to-date through July 2015. We haven't had committee reports last month, we'll do them tonight. Airport and highway, Frank, what's going on?
Okay, on the highway side, today we finished paving the Frigo Road, we got the shim down on the Kinney Road, we should have those 2 roads hopefully done tomorrow. We are gonna move over to the North Racket, because we've delayed, basically repaving of that road. We've got certain sections of the road, about 1.5 miles that need to have some kind of patch put on them to get through the winter. Then on August 27th, 28th, we're gonna be working with the village, together to pave the Bailey Road, from 37 back out to Hatfield. And then the week of September 7th, we'll be putting the shoulders down on the Frigo Kinney Road and the North Racket. We already talked about the pickup truck at the airport. The new employee, Dylan Kesselman, starts tomorrow. Obviously, there's a picture floating around of the T-hanger, the progress on the T-hanger. Hopefully, they're still planning, those should be available by the end of September. We're going to have a pre-construction meeting for the GA Access Road next August 27th. That's why I need to find out where that is, because we have time to get that project completed this year. If we can figure out where the paperwork is, get it signed and get it turned back in. It's been approved, the grant's been released.
And I think it's the only one, Frank. I signed a whole stack of documents for a project.
Pat's looking for it, and because basically Barrett's is ready to go.
Okay.
So
We'll
I
check-
just, we
we'll
just
check
need to
with Georgette
understand where it
tomorrow.
is. And then we had some more grants that were released, the taxiway rehab and lighting replacement is a design only. The snow removal equipment, there's a replacement of the tractor we have there, that's been released. We go ahead and order the tractor. One thing I gotta do is I've gotta ask for the quote to be redone, because it was 6 months ago when we did the first quote. And typically, they don't go down, they go up over time, so. Then, we also have, runway 27 PAPI replacement reel, the rehab of 5.2 lighting and home run replacement and design, only phase has been approved and released. The rescue squad, we have a tentative, schedule from, Harvey's, they hope to start on September 1st. The bulk of the work should be done within 2 weeks. And we'll have a pre-construction meeting on that on Thursday also, and CNS is here on the 27th. Library, we had some concerns about the pavers and the front entrance. Matt Ayod has taken that on, he said he would do that, he's replaced 120 some bricks, blocks, pavers so far. And,
Excuse me, Ray, replace them or simply reset them?
replaced them. They're
Okay.
broken, cracked.
Okay.
We went and bought him a truckload of pavers and he's putting them in.
Good. I
And
saw
then-
him working the other day.
Yeah. And then, I didn't realize this, but I guess Elaine has been trying to, they want to redo the landscaping in front of the, library. So I got a hold of Northrop's, Pecor's, and Big Racket. She has 2 quotes, one from Pecor and one from Northrop. And I don't know if Big Racket, but I guess I kind of turned that over to her because it's, her money and she can decide who she wants and how to do it. So I told her if she needed help, just to let me know. And that's where we're at.
Good, okay. Rescue squad, anything, pressing there? We have approved the new account, Nancy, that's all in place now? The account, okay. Have we had anything on the rescue squad? Okay. Hospital,
Next Monday.
meet next Monday, yeah.
One thing with it is, I don't know if it's, I mean, we can release the retirement, actually, was, the bill for the whole town was 3.7 million. Was projected for what, 3.7 million just for the hospital, right?
That, talking last year,
For the next year coming up,
2015?
it's 3.7 or 3.8 million, I think
Yeah, I
we're
haven't seen
projecting.
it.
It looks like, Nancy checked the numbers, it's like 3.145, so there might be a $500,000 savings even right there. in retirement
For this
system.
year?
Yeah.
Good.
That's a one-time deal.
No, well,
You're saying the bill's smaller than.
the bill's smaller than it was projected, I believe. The total bill for all the town, including town employees, MED, and the hospital is 3.7 million. I believe the projected retirement was gonna be 3.7 or 3.8 million. So it's 500,000 less than that. I think that's attributed to some of the, job changes there. Newer employees are on tier 5 and tier 6. I think there's over 100 employees now in tier 5 and tier 6, so they're paying in 3% to, or 3 to 5 or 6. So they're paying a portion of it, and they will for their whole career unless things, change with their retirement system, so.
I thought my understanding was that the hospital's obligation was 3.9 million for this year.
Coming up, to do, December
December, it's
for the cut
Or
rate.
just the hospital?
just the hospital. Did you bring the sheet with you?
I've got it on my phone.
Oh, okay.
It's 3.145 million,
That's due December this year.
Understand, that's for the hospital.
just for the
So
hospital.
it went
Last
from
year
4
was-
million last year to 3.1
Yeah.
million?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was close to 4 million, it was like
Yeah.
3.9 something last year.
Yeah.
Because it was supposed, it would have been 4 if it was like February 1st or
Right.
whatever the due date is, we always
Right,
pay
we
in
always
December.
prepay it,
Yeah.
Our total bill was what, 4.6,
something, yeah.
4.7, something like that for the whole town.
Okay. All right.
But
that's
you're
good
looking
news.
at 3 of 2013 until 3 of 2014 as the basis of the salaries that you're working on for this payment we're gonna make in 2015. So you're always,
3 years.
it takes a while for it to catch up when there are these types of savings that come along with these new tiers, because you're always so far behind in the
Yeah.
basis of the salary, because that's the fiscal year that they work on.
So any of the changes they're making right now won't really hit
Right.
for
Yeah,
a year and a half.
As more
Which
employees.
is a good story too, though,
Yeah.
because
Because it
should
should
be
continue
lower.
to lower.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, people,
right,
employees retire, new ones are hired, they're on tier 5 and tier 6, or tier 6, depends on their previous employment, but,
it's good.
yeah.
Okay. MED.
MED, major thing to report, they had their meeting this afternoon, and Joe asked me to request an energy audit by MED for the town hall, which they will do.
Good. It's a little thing, and the reason it got me thinking about it, every night when I leave, I'm usually out after the hall lights are shut down, I see the light on in the men's room, and every night I shut it off. Usually the ladies shut theirs off when they leave, the men don't for some reason. So, I was at the DPW last year, and they have motion sensor switches in their bathrooms. So I said, why don't we have those in the town hall? Although I remember one time having to stand up in the stall and shake my hands to the lights to turn back on. We won't get into that. But it wasn't there, it was another restroom. It's one of the pitfalls of motion sensor switches.
You need to have one installed.
Right,
Either that or a stepladder.
That's right, yeah. I figured maybe you could just throw a toilet paper and everything all around. Anyway, so it got me thinking, why don't we look at energy efficiency here in the town hall? Can we make some changes to save some money? Maybe the light switches will save us $3 or $4 in the next decade, but there may be something else where we can save some money. So I'm gonna ask them to do a complete energy audit here and see what we learn in the process. Okay, anything else, Albert?
That's it.
Okay, library.
I think Frank covered pretty much everything.
There is, we need to meet with Elaine, one of the things is, a grant for the control system, for the heating system.
Yes.
She's working on that with the libraries, and that's, could be a 50 to 75% grant,
Nice.
leaving the town with 25 or 50%. So we'd have to have a letter of intent to cover that, in the event that the grant would come to fruition. So, that doesn't have to be filed until October, so we can meet with her, I would say shortly, and take care of this.
Yeah, just an email, yeah, that's fine. Good, yeah, if need be, we'll pass it in September and get the grant, and the town will cover its portion. Okay, museum,
You gonna talk about it, or?
yeah, not a huge amount of update, other than to say that, the transition of the building should happen within the next 2 weeks. I expect that the town will take title of that building. Mr. Peets has been just talking to a local contractor who is willing to do some work there gratis to make some renovations. We anticipate that when we take possession of the building, everything will be in place for the renovations to be done at no cost to the town or anyone else for that matter. So we're looking forward to that. The one obligation we'll have at some point is funding and closing the current drive-through as a house for the hearse and the fire engine that's out there, the hearses and the fire engines that are out there now. But it looks like the interior work will be done when we take title to it, or shortly thereafter. It won't cost the town or the taxpayers a dime, because of generosity from local.
And then once we sell the old building, we use that to maybe convert the,
Well, right, they
Drive-through or
usually
something,
money
yeah.
to convert that into.
or help fund the future of the.
Right. So, progress is looking good. The museum, a couple of museum board members have been in, and the historian and the archivist, and they were quite honestly shocked by the amount of space that is available. Square footage wise, it's gonna be almost exactly the same amount of space they currently have. It'll be configured a little differently. It won't be this big, huge room that they have. It'll be at the perimeter around the building. Some of the folks from the Museum Studies program at SUNY Potsdam have been down and toured the building. They made some suggestions on some changes that Mr. Peets has discussed with the contractor, and hopefully that'll be done in short stead. I don't think we're gonna move there in the next 6 weeks. It's gonna depend on when the building's done and the availability of the staff for the town garage, but and whoever else volunteers in the museum perhaps. But I know the museum is also looking at their collection to determine if everything that they currently possess is appropriate to Massena's history and needs to be kept, or can some of it be deaccessioned and some of the collection reduced in size, because it doesn't pertain specifically to Massena's history. But that's something they're gonna be doing internally, and they'll make those decisions and make recommendations to us when it comes time to deaccession, if and when it comes time to deaccession, some parts of the collection. So, it's good progress. Recreation.
Yeah, NIPA has set aside monies, I think $1.5 million, for energy saving projects. And we believe that the replacement of the old chiller system in the arena certainly fits that bill. And they did have an energy audit before this project began. The monies are not released, and the Recreation Commission had to, because they're time sensitive. That has to be up and running before the ice season. So it is time sensitive, but the money's not being released. The Rec Commission had to issue the RFP not knowing if or when the monies will be released. So we're in limbo now, to a certain degree.
If the Rec Commission moves forward and says, we gotta get this done in time for ice,
Yes,
can we still potentially be eligible for funding?
yes, I understand that.
Good, super, that's good news. Good. All right. We also had a meeting, collective meeting today at the Power Authority with Louisville and Waddington, the village of Waddington and the town of Waddington and the town of Louisville with the Power Authority to look at projects that may fit in under in the license review settlement, the 10-year review. There is $7.5 million set aside for recreational projects in the 3 towns. And each town has different projects they'd like to have done on some of their facilities, including the town of Massena. We agreed we will prioritize those lists by town, and at some point we will get together collectively and decide these are our highest priorities to submit to NIPA and see what they can fund and how much the total is, and hopefully it comes in under the $7.5 million we've been allocated. So.
Joe, you and I have talked about this, the first 10 years, nobody, you make sure the next 10 years that if we agree that that 7.5, they agreed that $7.5 million is spent on recreation, we've got to make sure it is, because my understanding, and I wasn't on the board then, but my understanding the first 10 years, all that money wasn't spent on recreation.
I think there were some projects that were never completed, and now we're trying to catch up on those. You're right. I think you're right. Going forward, we need to be more vigilant to make sure those projects
Is that going to be done by the local government task force that you were on, or is it going to be appointed to somebody else?
I think I was just going to say both. I think the task force needs to do a better job, and each town and village needs to do a better job, right? So if there's projects that are supposed to be done in your town, you need to make sure they're done in your town. And the task force needs to look at the bigger picture.
That's a good question.
I assume NIPA has an accounting of it, don't they?
They do.
They do.
But at the meeting today, NIPA had several people there, working directly on this. And, every year, the beach is entirely funded by NIPA, but there are 2 representatives who monitor that on a yearly basis. So
For them, right? For NIPA.
Well, for them and indirectly for us too.
I just want to make sure that we
That's a good question.
keep our thumb on it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Make sure our projects are taken care of.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay.
You know, in the minutes, and I excuse myself from discussion of the Power Authority and their.
You haven't said anything until now, so just be quiet.
I just want it in the record. I've got 4 more years to work anyway.
Okay. Anything else in recreation? That should do it. BDC.
Oh, BDC. Formation of the official Massena Rail Spur LLC has been written and accepted. Mr. Ralston, and I'm not sure if he has anything else. Do you have anything to speak about?
No, nothing looking forward. That's primarily what we did our last meeting, was formalize the Massena Rail Spur LLC.
Rail Spur, big fun. Sounds like cowboy fun.
MRS, Mrs. LLC.
Oh, okay. Chamber of Commerce meets tomorrow. The new director has been there for a while. He's been doing a good job thus far, and actually missed the last meeting, and there's a fair amount on the agenda for tomorrow, so I don't have much to update you on right now with that. I have nothing to report beyond what I already have. Anyone else from the council have anything to report, Ryan? All right, we do need a short executive session on matter specific to compensation of one town employee. And don't get anything else for that?
Yeah, move the executive session with Jason.
So we do, that's executive session or open session?
We're also going to be executive session. Good track.
Okay. All right. Okay. What else we have on the agenda? We have another public session, a public comment session, anything else, anything I missed? No. Next meeting is September 16th, and before the executive session, we have another public comment session. If anyone wants to add anything, or hasn't had a chance to speak? Any comments? Yes, sir.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in written policy and procedure, and I think, this, whatever is going on with the senior citizens, it's just one example, but it can be applied to a lot of different things that, when you talk about job descriptions, I think a lot can be solved if things are written down, but they're not just written, but also reviewed and used continuously.
Okay. And I don't disagree with that. I think it makes sense to have it. And I've been surprised at a couple of things that we don't have down in black and white. We, at one point, the town looked at a personnel policy that was, I think, more extensive than we needed and never got approved. None of it got approved. We missed the boat on some of that. And at some point, we probably need to revisit that. But it doesn't hurt to have things in black and white, and that we follow it and review it every now and then. I don't agree with redoing your bylaws every year. I don't think that's what bylaws are supposed to be, but that's their business, their organization. So.
It's also a job of the board to guide the administrator on what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Okay, any other public comment? If not, entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Read one more time the purpose of your executive session.
We are going to discuss the compensation of a specific employee of the town. Happens to be at the airport.
Do you expect to take any action afterwards?
I don't think so.
You just have to approve it.
Well, potentially.
We'll have to take action.
Yeah, we may have to, so.
Yeah, two.
The other one is a proposal.
Okay. Okay, right, okay, yeah, so actually two employees. Okay. All right.
Again, the employment history or compensation.
Of two specific individuals. Yes, sir? Okay, I entertain a motion to go to executive session.
As well as a proposed venture.
Oh, contractual matter with, economic development, contractual matter, I guess, I don't have the details on it, right, but, I don't know if we're taking action on that or not, because I don't really know what it's involved yet.
Well, before you go into executive session, I think you have to go a little further than that. Just saying, well, there's something I don't know about.
As I understand it, there is a proposal to be brought before the board for consideration of entering into a contract. Is that right?
I would say so,
with a
yeah.
company or individual?
Yeah, with a company that would further some employment and some procedures for I guess, a venture of the BDC. Or possible venture of the BDC.
I would question whether that would be executive session. You're talking policy before you get into the contract. So it sounds like you'd have to have the
I think we're talking negotiations really before we get into a contract.
But before you get into negotiations, you have to have some idea of what you're talking about, which you say you don't have. That should be done in open session. Then if you decide you want to have a contract with somebody through the BDC, then you would have that discussion behind closed doors.
I will tell you that I don't believe the nature of business, details of business arrangements typically aren't discussed publicly before there's been some discussion about whether those things are appropriate.
Perhaps that's illegal that those don't happen. And I know you wouldn't wanna be falling in that bad path.
As we all know, only a judge can make that determination. And I do my best, having been in your shoes as a reporter and editor, to be as open as humanly possible and to follow the law. And I think we do that.
Okay.
Okay? We take an oath, uphold the Constitution and the laws.
And I'm sure that if at some point during this discussion you realize what you're doing is improper, that you would come back out.
Well, certainly we go back to the open session, for sure.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Anything else? Do we have a motion yet for executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstention, motion carries. Do we need Larry to stay?